everybody, and welcome to the Money Man Show. Got Mark and James as always. Tough week coming up for Super Brew players and anybody looking to make money on the 7 games that are up. 6 out of 7 of these games are as close as 6.5 on the handicap, which means that the bookies are expecting close games. Funny enough, the one game that they think there's going to be a blowout is the Stormers Bulls. So let's start with the Highlanders and Sharks. We haven't seen the Highlanders play, but we know they lost a lot of players.
Yeah.
We saw the Sharks play. I didn't really get too much out of that game. And
yeah, look, again, as per last year, the Sharks and the Bulls game was very, very scrappy. There wasn't much in it. A lot of penalties on the Sharks side, which kept the Bulls in the game with Mornay staying. And again, travelling to New Zealand, playing the Islanders is not gonna be easy.
No. But if there's a team in New Zealand that you'd want to travel to play, it probably would be the Highlanders. Yeah,
or even as we said, it would even be the Hurricanes at this stage. But look, it's never easy playing in New Zealand. We know that.
Yeah.
Our success of the last couple of years hasn't been that great in terms of victories.
Well, the Sharks have done better than most.
Yes, they have. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, traditionally, but that also goes back to the early days of Super Rugby, where they really had a potent side that they would win regularly over there. And they were the one team that always travelled well. And then under Robert de Preer, surprisingly, that's where they played their best rugby, was against the New Zealand teams. I don't think this team is going to do as well. They've got a different mindset. They want to play a more attacking style, which really suits the Kiwi teams. Where when the Shark teams of old with a good pack and a 9 and 10 who could play percentages, when they took on New Zealand teams, they troubled them. They upset their rhythm, and that physicality has always troubled the New Zealand side if you can sustain it. So I was surprised that the Sharks actually knocked over the Bulls. But a lot of humidity in that game as well, and early season in Durban. You guys got 6 from 7, I think, last week in your Super Brews. I got 4 from 7, so I can only go up this week, I hope. I think the Highlanders will do the Sharks. I think they'll do them quite comfortably.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think by a minimum of 10 points.
I'm actually with you on that one. 10 points to the Highlanders.
Wow. Well, I'm not betting on the game. I still usually wait till round 4. 3 rounds gives me an idea and a good indication.
Lay of the land.
Lay of the land,
yeah.
A survey of the land. And so for my Super Brew, I'll be picking the Highlanders to win by 4 points.
Okay.
Now, a game that really no one cares about, the Brumbies versus the Rebels. The Rebels were awful last week.
Woeful. Awful.
Yeah, and you've got the Brumbies favoured by 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
How are we looking at that game?
Yeah, I think I'd second that. Certainly the Brumbies for this one, and I'd even go 10 points plus.
I think home ground advantage for the Brumbies, but you talk about a game no one cares about. Very interesting stat. Fox is potentially going to announce that they're going to stop their 25-year association with Australian rugby for Super Rugby, which is going to be one of the final nails into a coffin that's already been nailed quite a bit in the last 2 years. The first round of Super Rugby in Australia was down 35% in viewership from round 1 last year, involving the Australian teams, and down 19% overall from last year. So there is a limited interest in Australian rugby with their own teams at the moment. And we saw last week that match was turgid.
Well, they've had a losing culture for
more than a decade.
Yeah, well, not quite a decade, I think, but certainly during the Michael Cheika era, they were an embarrassment.
Interesting you say that is, I was at Newlands last weekend. And if I look at the crowd attendance, obviously with the Springboks having done well and all these rock star Springboks representing the Stormers, the crowd attendance was the best that's been in more than a year. Last year we couldn't give even sweet tickets away to go. So I think also the fact that the national side for the Australians is not doing well also shows why they're losing interest and appetite for the competition.
Well, they got 18,000 at Newlands, and over the history of Super Rugby, 31,000 was the average attendance for the Stormers, and that's the best from any team over 25 years. Last year, I think it was down to 14,000 on average. So to get 18, the way they won, I think there'll be 30+ thousand there for the Bulls game. And if they continue to win, they'll be filling that stadium by the time they go overseas.
I agree. So Brumbies, Rebels, what are we doing for Super Brew?
Brumbies by 5.
Yeah, I'd say Brumbies by 10.
I've got Brumbies by 7. Here's a great game, or potential great game, the Chiefs versus the Crusaders.
I got Chiefs to win at home by a score 3 to 5 points. Gatlin's picked Aaron Cruden at 10, Leonard Brown at 12, and Mackenzie's fit at 15. They have lost the 2 All Black props, but they weren't the first choice props. Yeah. And the big one for the Crusaders is no Richie Mo'unga, and they're playing David Havili, the fullback. They're playing him at 10, and he does the goal kicking. And last year they played their game in Suva, and the Chiefs turned them over. And it is the one team that the Crusaders do struggle because they get involved in a dogfight, and it's normally a very brutal game off the ball as well. So Gatland will come there with the Warren Ball tactics. It's in Hamilton. Those cowbells are going to be going ballistic. So yeah, and I think that, and I do believe, we said it early in the week, Kev, that the Chiefs and the Crusaders, I think that's where the New Zealand challenge will come from. But to me, that's going to be the game of the weekend.
For sure. So where are we going on the Super Bowl?
Look, I must be honest, I was thinking I'd favour the Crusaders, just based on history, but, touching on, the points you've just raised. But I'm going to say the Crusaders by 3. I'm going to say.
So I didn't cause enough doubt for you to...
Crusaders by how many, James?
By 3.
Yeah. Mark?
Okay, Chiefs by 5?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs by 1.
Okay, there we go.
I think it's going to go either way.
Well, either way, it sounds like it's going to be a very close game.
It sounds like it,
Yeah.
Waratahs Bulls. This is an interesting game.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Waratahs Blues.
Blues. Sorry.
Yeah.
What did I say? Bulls.
Yeah.
Same colour
Thank goodness I've done my homework and I got my crib notes here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Waratahs Blues. For me, the Blues just are the disappointment of the New Zealand conference for me. So I'm going to go Waratahs.
I'm also going to go Waratahs because it's in Newcastle as well. So it's one of those smaller stadiums. They have to travel from Sydney in a bus, and they've got no Rico Ione. He's fractured his hand. He's out for 5 weeks. They played all right for that first 40 minutes, but geez, they just don't have it. And the Waratahs at home have always been a fairly decent side at home. And I think you said it as well before we came on air that you felt that times against the Crusaders they looked half decent.
Yeah, they did. I think that the score was flattering of the Crusaders, and the Waratahs tough up front opening match against a team like the Crusaders, who were healthy and put out a good side. So for me, I'm going to go Waratahs by 2.
Okay.
I'll go Waratahs by 7.
I'll go Waratahs by 10.
Wow. Lions versus Reds.
They're equally cuck at the moment, eh? So they are. But somehow I'm going to go Reds. I got to first 2-3 weeks of Super Rugby. You got to put a few flyers out there.
Traitor, you.
Wouldn't be the first time he's called that.
Yeah. There was a time when the Lions were winning 15% of their games that I used to always call against the Lions. Then I fell in love with them under Swayze, but I look at this new coach, I look at the way they play.
Now,
Have you seen Swayze on TV? He looks great.
Yeah,
looks nice and relaxed. And
Very relaxed. And now he's working with the Kings once a week. He's working with other teams.
I think the Kings need more than Swayze, I can tell you that much.
yeah.
But that's my personal opinion.
Super Rugby, Super Brew. Let's leave the Kings out.
Yeah. Lions Reds. That's an interesting one, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, the Reds traditionally don't do well here.
No, and Brad Thorne has said if they can just get one win on the tour, then it's successful because I think they may go, they do Jaguaris on the way home as well. Yeah, so they've played O'Connor's moved to number 10, and I think he'll do quite well there, James O'Connor. They got here early, a day earlier than the Lions travelling back as well from Buenos Aires. So altitude could burn the Lions, but either one wouldn't surprise me, but I'd take a fly on the Reds. I really thought the Lions were poor.
Yeah, I don't know, Mark. For me, the Lions actually, with that young team and with all the changes, they were competitive. They were in the game against the Jaguaris. Apart from the two,
From the 30 points?
no. But hang on. They had two slip tackles and a bad performance by Yankees. He kept them out of the game by not securing a touch kick of a penalty on a good attacking platform. He missed a lot of penalties, and his overall judgment was poor. He's very predictable. He turns his shoulders. You immediately see he's going to offlay the ball. And he was the undoing of the Lions, in my opinion. But they were competitive. Their scrums were good. Their lineouts were good. They were competitive at ruck and ball time. Yes, when you start turning your shoulders on defence and you start getting beaten on the inside, that was the undoing. But I think that under the conditions, yes, 38-8 wasn't flattering, but possession and territory on the day was 50-50.
So when you watch that game at 1 in the morning, were you coming in or were you going
We're
out?
coming out. So okay, so let's just touch on this. So if you look at the stats, and I brought my notes, possession was 50-50, territory was 1% in favour of the Jaguars. Here's the difference. The meters run was 515 by the Jaguars versus on the same territory and possession, 335 meters only by the Lions.
Tell us a story.
Line breaks 19 versus 5, and defenders beaten 37 versus 13. So that was the nuts and the bolts of it. But possession and territory, I rest my case.
Well researched, James.
Yeah, thank you guys. You know, I'm starting to do my homework.
Yeah, but so you, Mark, you go with the Reds.
Reds, yeah.
I got a feeling, James, based on your thesis there, you're going to go with the.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to really throw the cat amongst the pigeons. I'm going to go Lions by 1 point.
After all that, I thought you were like 15.
Where you going, Kev?
It's Super Brew, so it doesn't matter. But I hate losing at anything. So I'm going to go Lions by 3.
Yeah.
That's okay. You know what? This is the Troll Brigade again. We do a video on the Stormers and talk about the optimism for the season. They put away a Team 27 and the Trolls come out. You know, one game doesn't make this and that and everything else.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the game, guys. People really piss me off when they get on and just start.
Yeah. Weakest team ever we've seen from the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Should have been 40 points.
Yeah.
God, there was a time we couldn't score 27 as the Stormers. And to keep them blank, fantastic win.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
fantastic. And Dubbo was very confident beforehand and he backed up what he said.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but we mustn't now start becoming prima donnas and crybabies with a little bit off the ball, argy-bargy, and a little bit of messy play, and now think that we're entitled because we're world champions.
Yeah,
to
but
cry foul the whole time.
Sears was
No, forget that. I'm talking about all the other,
Yeah,
Just
I know.
play the game. You won the game. Be dignified in your victory and move on.
What I did like was the Hurricanes coach coming out and saying, our boys are a bit bruised as well. They took a bit of a beating off the ball. That gave me confidence.
There we go.
So the Stormers gave it as good as they got it.
Tit for tat.
So Stormers Bulls, derby game, local derby, what's going on?
I think it's going to be a very close game. I think the Stormers have got to do a mental adjustment with the loss of Sia. I think he's massive and significant in terms of his overall presence and his leadership. Bongi being out, Kutsia, which was a standout player. They're going to have disruptions in the pack, but I would say the Stormers by 5.
Yeah, well, Kutsia's going to play. He's playing at 6, and Yuanda Toy will play at 8, with the very talented Augustus on the bench. And let's hope he comes through. He was a World Player of the Year under 23 years ago. Struggled with injury and form. The core of that pack is still there, and I mean, it's 2 of your favourite players, Yankees and Willemse, and I thought they were very good with Jamie Roberts, a very steadying influence next to them. That his experience of 34, I think we're going to see a growth in Damien Willemse's game that just wouldn't have been possible if he wasn't playing next to a 12 like that. I think it's one of the best signings they could have made.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I said it when it happened, and I got trolled to death when Anyway, forget it.
Anyway,
Stormers,
back.
Bulls, Super, let's go.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a South African derby. It's going to be hard. It's going to be physical. It's going to be brutal. I think there's going to be very little in it, but I will give it to the way of the Stormers by 5 to 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
I think no humidity. It's going to be good conditions on Saturday. Stormers will get the upper hand up front. I think a comfortable 10+ win.
So let me ask you something. Why is humidity such a factor playing rugby?
Handling the ball.
Yeah,
I don't know.
like
Did you never
surely-
drop one in
like,
Durban?
no, never ever. I mean, I don't think I hardly ever dropped a rugby ball,
Well,
whether humidity or not. I just don't understand in South Africa when we play badly, we blame it on humidity, and when we play well, then there's no factors.
Well, I just think that humidity is a factor in the handling of a rugby ball. And it's proven. I mean, the scores in Durban tend to be
But I've
low.
just been a bit...
Oh, you've been a dick.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I've been a dick.
Okay.
I mean, every time South Africa loses, we blame it on something,
Well, it's been humid in Cape Town this year for the first time. So I'm going to go Stormers by 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Yeah. And then the second half will start. And just kidding. No, it's Stormers by 20 for me.
There we go.
Jaguares versus the Hurricanes.
Jaguares by 10. Hurricanes got no pack. And
And also the travel, I mean, I possibly could see another beating for them.
I wouldn't be against another beating for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, no.
No?
I second that. Based on that, they bullied the Stormers.
Of course,
Yeah,
off the
yeah,
ball.
yeah.
Well, they won't bully his Jaguaris off the ball, I can tell you that much.
Yeah. So where we? I'm going Jaguars by 7,
Yeah, I said by 8.
10.
10. There you have it, folks. Lock those in on your Super Brew and get to the top of your Super Brew tables, because you can take that to the bank. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Mark, James, always a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.